Welcome to TradeTheMBI.com. This is John. This report is for, the 2nd of September, and an auspicious start. We dipped all the way to the 38% before buyers jumped back in to buy that level, and produced just the slightest of increases on the MBI reading, but you can see at 144, it's above 32. That is a crossover, and we knew we were getting into that extreme oversold, but you can see also DOC reading here, midterm buyers fading. So this basically was a short-term buyer lift, looking for short covering, kind of a return on that. So nothing hyper convincing, and we're still hovering around, moving back towards that previous algo point. So nothing over the top. Nasdaq still a little bit weaker. No surprise there. It actually dipped below its 38, but you can see 38 rising and the 0% rising. That's going to be one of those that wants to pull price down into a sell signal. The euro, right back down to the 0%, no shock there. I mean, we were just talking about how ridiculous it was when we had moved above parity, given what the situation is there. And sure enough, it gave it all back. Not a surprise. It's like you've got to wonder how it's even holding up as much as it is. And we kind of know what the story with that is. And gold, of course, obviously, because of this question about the deflationary slowing economy, um, taking brunt of it, and not a surprise, we had the lead of white, but it took over with the magenta coming through there. But then white started leading on this most recent decline, and even has been so. So the 0% was the expectation for that move. Um, Oil, yep, same thing. That's actually going to, if it breaks this low, which we expected it to reach the 0% with the MBI white lead, that could actually have more beneficial impact, which would be a boost to the economy, which would justify what we're seeing here on TLT, which, oh, yeah, by the way, remember we were all the way there. We were talking about this dipping down. And sure enough, it reaches at 0% on that. And that's because if things improve, rates are definitely going to increase, and there won't be any Fed softening. So there you have it. Bitcoin still just barely hanging under that 20K. It's within buy configuration. We did get a spike up though of the orange without a dip below the red. So I think that could put it under some more pressure, which is what we kind of thought was going to happen with that from a 50K standpoint. We saw the early weakness, and then later on we started building. Even though we had white leading in there, we never got a dip of magenta below that 25 level, and you can see it spiked up and stayed above yellow at that point, and that was enough to finally get it over that 23% and attract additional buyers. And there was a lot of volume today. I mean, it was big, because if you look at the 5K, it just kept going. We had the early dip. Every attempted buyback was sold, and then finally, as we got towards the later part of the day, we started to have a series of these regular builds, pullbacks. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, and you can just go through the alphabet, but the basic pivot moves until the later part of the day was lifted all the way to the peak, and then finally a end run right at the close, and that just drove it all the way back up 39.70. So just right back at these same algo levels, and where they were resistance, they were support. Resistance broke through, new resistance, and then back down to that same support. So pretty much following the lines that we've seen established by the algorithms themselves. They really don't correspond to even numbers or anything, and that's just the way it's supposed to be. Because while everyone's looking for specific, even numbers and things like that, that's not how it works. They arbitrarily pick these elevation points, and that's what they do. That's the long and the short of it for now. But again, really good action, both down and up. And I think that we're going to continue to see that kind of flexibility, because there's still a lot of uncertainty as to whether or not the varying economic signals are really depicting kind of an unevenness that just really isn't definable at this point. I mean, earlier we knew that things were heading south, but as oil prices improved just enough, and uh, you've got some stabilization in certain areas, it's been enough to keep things potentially able to turn around. So it's just a question of whether they will or not. We're going to need more time. Just basically, that's where we're at with it. As always, though, you can look for me in the Skype chat. Trade well. We'll talk to you later.